Hello, everybody. We want to welcome you to the African Beat.
and Caribbean Heat podcast.
It's your boy Obadolas, aka Dolama.
And I am Queen Teah. Welcome back to our
Yes,
episode.
so 2024 episode.
We are here, y'all. So I know you haven't seen us in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
We took an opportunity to go spend time with our families and just celebrate the new year with them. And it was well deserved time off, right?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yep, I
Uh,
got to go home and spend a couple of weeks home, and that was great just to be out of the cold and with my family. I know you
Yeah,
traveled as well.
yeah.
hmm
Nothing like family.
Yeah, for sure. So we are back
Yeah,
in 2024, and we're here with another episode.
yeah. Another
Um,
banger,
yeah,
banger episode.
yeah, man, yeah. So, like, what are you looking forward to most this year?
More blessings, more love. More
hmm
creativity.
hmm
It's been a beautiful year already, starting it.
Yeah.
And the most important thing that we are alive
hmm
and healthy, and we keep pushing and we keep making it beautiful for everybody.
That's true.
Yeah, what
That's
about
true.
you?
Yeah. More of that too, just taking opportunities to just be a better person, um, learn more, grow more, um, challenge myself, you
Yep.
know what I mean? To just like expand and just be the greatest person that I can be. And
Nice.
yeah, just continuing this podcast with you. So,
Yep.
um, yeah.
And 2024 is going to be a powerful podcast.
Yeah, man. So we are, working on some good content, some good conversations to have, and there's a lot that's going on in the world right now.
Yeah.
From different things that are happening across the world and how the U.S. is impacted by it or in support of or whatever. Right now in the United States, it's an election year,
Yeah.
so so that can be a little interesting. Let's
Yeah.
say that just kind of the candidates and all this stuff kind of surrounding that. So I'm probably sure this one want to talk about that, but
Yeah.
I'm not a real big fan of politics, but those kind of things are important to know, like what's going
Yeah.
on, and supporting or advocating for candidates that stand for what you stand for, and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll probably
Yeah.
have some conversations along the lines
Yeah.
with that. So
Sounds good. You know.
yeah, man, yeah. So we're in February, and
Yes.
in the United States, February actually has three pretty important um, things to celebrate. The first one is this month is known as
Hmm.
American Heart Health Month.
Hmm.
And what happens typically in the month is just to bring awareness to cardiovascular health. So, encouraging people to go get screening, um, heart disease, especially in the Black African American community, is people are dying at a large rate
Oh.
because of heart related issues. So this month is just to encourage people to get educated about their heart health, to schedule appointments with their doctors to ensure that their ticker is working the way it needs to.
Yeah.
So February is American Heart Health Month. It's also Valentine's Day. So
Hmm.
yeah, so
Yeah.
Valentine's Day,
And it's with a heart too.
it's with a heart as well, right? So Valentine's Day is celebrated on February 14th here in the United States. Do they celebrate
Hmm.
Valentine's Day
Yeah.
in Nigeria? Okay, cool. So wasn't sure. I didn't want to assume,
Good.
but it's a time where people um, express their love and gratitude to those that are special to them by giving gifts or spending time and stuff like that. So I know we probably have a episode coming up that's gonna kind of dive a little bit more into Valentine's Day, but this particular episode we are going to focus on Black history.
Yep.
Yeah, so Black history, or African American history. February is Black History Month.
Wow.
And yeah, and It's a month dedicated to celebrating the achievements of African Americans to the U.S. Um, culture, if you will, to the U.S. History.
Mhm.
So their contributions, whether it be in education, in trade, people who were movers and shakers in our history. This month, we celebrate, acknowledge, and give recognition to those individuals who came before us and have paved the way for people like us to be able to pursue our
Sure.
dreams
Mm.
and stuff like that. So, yeah, um, Black history started back in like the 1920s, and it was
Wow.
Dr. Carter G. Woodson. He has been deemed the godfather or grandfather of Black history. And
Mm.
Black history actually started off as a week.
Wow.
hmm It started off as like a week acknowledgement. I think it wasn't until maybe like the 70s
Mm.
that it actually became like a month long
Wow.
celebration. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, yeah. So, like I said, it's a month where we celebrate the notable contributions that African Americans have made here in the United States. So,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts about Black History Month?
I like what you said about it used to be a week and now
hmm
it's like a month.
hmm
And I believe from a month, it's probably going to be a year. You
I
know what
don't
I
know about a
mean?
year
At
though.
least celebrating, because celebrating that what my fellow black people have
hmm
done is a
hmm
lifeline thing.
hmm
It's not just for a week or a day
That's
or
true.
more. It's forever.
That's true.
So I always celebrate, our history
hmm
and the people that sacrificed
Yes.
for us to be comfortable where we are today.
hmm hmm
And we always give them their acknowledgement and
hmm
praises.
hmm
And history is very important.
Yes.
History is amazing
Yeah.
because where I'm from, we don't have history.
What do you
Like
mean by that?
history in terms of like what our black people have done,
Okay.
in terms of like electricity,
Okay.
in terms of like the streets light.
hmm
There's so many stuff that black people have created in this world
hmm
that we Africans don't know. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Being at home,
Okay.
because we're not taught black history.
American history, like Black American history.
Like yeah, like black American history
hmm
and black history in general.
Okay.
When I say black history in general is that whether they did in America, what they did in Europe is a
hmm
black man. Black is black.
hmm
When a white man sees you, he don't see you as African or African American, or sees you as a black man.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we uh, history is very important to
hmm
know what your people have done,
hmm
because where I'm from, we know more of the white people, what they have done,
Okay.
and like they're portrayed as like everything, and we're portrayed as we haven't done anything.
Mm.
You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
So history is very important
hmm
because and history started from migration. You know what I mean? And history started from the existence of human being.
Okay.
So it goes deep
hmm
on that.
hmm
And I believe that history is supposed to be taught in schools,
Yeah.
whether in America,
hmm
the whole world in
Yeah.
Africa,
Yeah.
because we have to understand that our people impacted in life for where we are today,
hmm
enjoying it.
hmm
And it's not the other race, only the other race. You
Okay.
know what I mean? And I feel like some institutions want to hide
mm
those things from the people.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? So I really like history,
Okay.
and history is what makes you know what you are
hmm
and gives you an identity.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know your history, you're lost tribe.
Mm.
But if you know your history, you know where you're from, you know you're a king, you know what you have,
Yeah.
and you become proud of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my little thought on that.
Okay. Yeah, history is important. I mean, history, it sets the tone. It gives you the who, the what, the when, the where, the why. Um, it's interesting to hear you say like there isn't really a lot of history that's taught
Yeah,
in Africa. Like I would have imagined that it would actually be the opposite. Like um, I've seen documentaries, talking about like African empires and the kings and rulers, prior to colonization, and how different parts of Africa, different tribes, different sets of people would um, have like story time, in their villages or respective areas. And that was the way how they kind of passed down the tradition,
yeah,
how they passed down like the history and things of that nature. And when the colonizers came in and started to take resources from the African people and enslave them
yeah,
and essentially create division.
yeah,
Um, a lot of them had to get really creative with how they were able to still communicate with each other. So a lot of it was communication through like music, so like
hmm,
through like the beating of drums. Even with women and how they wore their hair with different hairstyles, like that would communicate something too. So
yeah,
like for me, it's really interesting to hear from you that um there wasn't a lot of history being taught, um, you know,
Africa.
yeah, in Africa, yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm really surprised to hear that.
yeah.
Um,
And another thing in that is that
mhm,
like grow up in Africa,
mhm.
you have more history of the white people
Okay,
achievements in general than my own black people.
okay.
We have internal history of
Mhm,
like our community,
mhm.
our country, and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
it's not deep.
Okay,
It's a basic history, right?
okay.
And I still ask people today, like
Mhm,
I the other day I asked my father, right?
mhm,
Like before the slavery, what were our people doing?
mhm,
Where were we?
mhm.
What were we? What are we?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's deep
Mhm.
because we are the first people that got created,
Yeah.
and life started in Africa. That's why it's called motherland.
Mhm.
So before any other race or any other country, right? So what happened to those people for the intercession of race and
Yeah.
all those stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's one.
Mhm.
Two, we have more knowledge of white people
Mhm.
in the Western world compared to black people.
Mhm.
And it gets to a point that some of my brothers and sisters that haven't traveled don't know there's black people in America
Mhm.
or in Europe that's not like, how do I put, that's not like born in Africa, or their
Mhm.
parents was born in Africa, or their great grandfathers were born in Africa,
Yeah.
but they have the African lineage and descent of the slavery
Mhm.
again. So it's a whole lot of generation to generation of people that are here.
Yeah.
So we don't have that knowledge, right? Because it's not taught.
Yeah.
We are being taught more of what the white people have done,
Okay.
portraying them as saviors, and
Mhm.
they created everything.
Mhm.
While when you calculate what they have done and what black people have done, it's almost the same.
I see what you're saying.
You
Okay.
know what I mean? So
Mhm.
we have to teach more of
Mhm.
what our people have done
Mhm.
in humanity to
Mhm.
create. So when we do that, you can get young African kids
Mhm.
being proud of their forefathers
Yeah.
and being able to know that they can do better.
Yeah.
They can do more than anything as
Mhm.
far they dream and put their hopes up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the lineage I wanted to put there.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I hear what you're saying. Yeah. So I guess when you look at like the American education system, history is taught in the schools. The predominant history, obviously, is the history of the United States and,
Mhm.
um, you know, just kind of like the different eras in American history. Um, African American history is taught,
Mhm.
but not in depth,
Yeah.
like you kind of mentioned, not as in depth as, um, non-Black history.
Really.
Okay,
Yeah.
so while we do have this 1 month where there's like a special dedication to the contributions and achievements of African Americans in the United States, I think us as Black people, we need to do our due diligence to um, research,
Mhm.
what
Well,
our history, um, from the taking it all the way back to Africa, and through the slave trade and just kind of like the migration of our people from Africa to where we are present day. And I think for a lot of people who have done their due diligence to research things, and they have a sense of pride
mhm.
because they understand the people that we come from and just the sacrifices, um, that they have put in place to afford us the opportunity to do what we're doing today. So when you think of, people like, and it could be controversial. People may have opinions about different African Americans throughout history. But when you think about, like, Martin Luther King,
Mhm.
when you think about Malcolm X, when you think about Harriet Tubman, when you think about Rosa Parks, those are big name African Americans in our history, and is well documented the things that they've done to impact, um, I guess, race relations, or maybe the unfair treatment of Black people here in America. And, their messages may have varied, but the whole mindset was to elevate Black people,
Mhm.
to have us understand who we are, where we came from, and where we're going. And those things are important, and I wish that, you know African American Black history was taught more beyond just the month of February. That there's always, um, us wanting to seek knowledge and learn more about our heritage, because there's so much power.
Yes.
Like, we are very intelligent people. We are creators, we are engineers, we are teachers, we are just the whole gamut.
Mhm.
And even those big name people that I mentioned a little bit ago, there's other people who have done or contributed majorly to our society that we don't know much about.
Yeah.
But if we just kind of do some history, some research of the history, we can find stuff out about that. So let me see. Um, do you what do you know about, like, African American or Black history? Because I know you mentioned that it really wasn't taught that
Mhm.
much, but since you've been living in the States for a number of years, what are some things that you've kind of learned about, like, Black or African American history since you've been living here?
I mean, when you come to the States
Hmm.
or Western world,
Hmm.
you start to understand a whole lot of stuff that you didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I learned a lot about, like, from slavery
Hmm.
to what my brothers and sisters have
Hmm.
done
Hmm.
to for us to have a better life.
Yeah.
And then you read what happened before that. You couldn't take the same bus,
Yeah.
you couldn't drink the same water
Water fountain.
fountain.
Yeah.
I was like baffled by that.
Same
Y-
bathroom. You
You know,
couldn't eat.
same bathroom. I
Hmm.
was baffled, like, what?
Yep.
You know, because when you're not, you never know all these things happen.
Mm-mm.
And then when you come here, you see all these things,
Hmm.
and then you're baffled, and you're like, wow, I never knew it was like this.
Yeah.
And then you start to understand why Africa is the way it is.
Mm.
You start to understand why we're suffering. You
Okay.
start to understand the trauma and the history
Hmm.
that's involved in it.
Yeah.
And I always say to my fellow Black people is that we are one, you know what I mean? Because Some people say that their forefathers paved the way for us to come here,
Mhm. Mhm.
and we don't acknowledge them or respect them.
Mm.
And I asked them, your forefather, how do you know your forefather is not the brother to my father,
Well,
my
yeah.
forefather?
Yeah.
How do you know that the blood lineage is not ours?
Mhm.
So we're one, I mean, and history is amazing, but the powerful thing is unity,
Yeah.
and we lack unity, I mean, and with history and unity, we can
Mhm.
conquer anything
Yeah.
in this world.
Yeah.
So me coming to America,
Mhm.
Europe, or any country in the Western world,
Mhm.
you start to learn a lot about history, and then you start to appreciate history
Mm.
because you then realize who you are.
Yeah.
You then realize what your brothers and sisters have achieved. You then realize the comfort you have that somebody paved the
Mhm.
way for that.
Mhm. Mhm.
You then realize the name of the person. You
Yeah.
then realize that freedom was not given, it was fought for.
Wow. Mhm.
You know what I mean? And then you start to appreciate what my brothers and sisters have done
Mhm.
to impact the Western world
Yeah.
and impact Africa.
Yeah.
And you start to understand the value of history, you know, because that history will give you knowledge of life
Mhm.
and make you know that you can achieve anything, and when you one way knowledge, you think that you're not capable of doing anything
Mm.
because you feel like the other race is the one that has the talents, the skills, the blessings,
Mm.
and then you feel that you're inferior, that you
Mm.
can't do anything. But when you realize your forefathers did this, did
Mhm.
that,
Mhm.
you're like, you know what? I can be greater than anybody. I
Mhm.
can do it.
Mhm.
And then you start to use your God-given brain
Yeah.
and gift,
Yeah.
and then you create stuff that will put you out there.
Mhm.
So that's the good thing about history.
Yeah.
History makes you know that you're powerful.
Yeah.
So me coming to America, it enlightened me a lot
Mhm.
and opened my mind because when I was coming here, I didn't know about, like African American.
Mhm.
I didn't know there was a struggle. I didn't know there was
Wow.
racism. I
Okay.
didn't know Africa was the first place that God created.
Mm.
You know what I mean? My mind is like, I gotta get out of here to go and find a better life and feed and all that stuff. Then
Yeah.
after that, you start learning a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And then you realize that here that a lot of African Americans are lacking history too,
Mhm. Mhm.
because history should be pushed so hard. Why I say that is because if people here know the history, then they can understand their roots in Africa
Mhm.
and understand that even though you're born here, you grew up here, you still have a home in Africa.
Yeah.
And Africa is not, and you understand how Africa is.
Mhm.
You understand why we are who we are and what we are
Yeah.
because the bloodline flows generation to generation.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And you kind of understand that I'm good in business because my tribe is from Nigeria or my tribe is from this country. Or,
Mhm. Mhm.
you get to understand why you are because one thing I learned, some people they have a gift here,
Mhm.
but they don't know where the gift come from. And then when they research or look at the history, they find out they're from a tribe that is blessed with social
Yeah.
gifts.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then they can understand, oh, this is why I have
This
this
is
gift.
why. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? But they
Yeah.
never knew it's been coming from their family to another family,
Yeah.
and then he has it.
Mhm.
So history is very important for everybody,
Mhm.
and I really it lightens my mind, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah. I would say for me, my experience was a little bit different when I moved to the United States. So, I mean, where I'm from, it's U.S. territory. So we
Hmm.
did learn U.S. history back home. We also had our own history that we learned,
Yeah.
Virgin Islands history, because that's important. It's important to know your history. And there's so much that has happened in our history as islands.
Hmm.
The Virgin Islands, before we became territory of the United States, we were under the rule of 6 other countries.
Wow.
Yeah, so we were under Danish rule, we were
Mm,
under French, England, Knights of Malta. So we have a really robust history
mm,
on top of having to also learn American history as
mm.
well,
Wow.
because a lot of us, it's United States territory, so the rules and things that would apply in the U.S. would apply also in the Virgin Islands. So it's
Mm,
important for us to know that history so we can know how to operate
yeah.
when it comes
Yeah.
to like government things and stuff like that. Um, but I don't recall there being a big emphasis in African American history. Now, I will say we did learn in school, but as far as like a deep dive, I think it was kind of like on a personal level where
Mhm.
if you wanted to learn more, you would do the deeper dive to learn more about
Wow.
African American history. Yeah. But something you said during your comments previously around people having talents and are good at things, and you made a really good point about someone who is really crafty or really good with their hands and stuff like that, and just not really sure like where that trade or that skill came from, and the fact that if they could trace back their lineage, it's
Yeah.
probably back to their lineage in Africa,
Yeah.
and how
Yes.
like maybe that particular tribe was really good at like building
Mm-hmm.
things, so that's kind of where that skill came in, and it's
Yeah.
kind of ingrained in that person. So we have a lot of talented people
Yeah.
here, African Americans. I mean, everywhere from science
Yes.
to education, um, even sports,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
entertainment, like,
Entertainment.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like acting, singing, things of that nature. And it's interesting because oftentimes, and this could be debated, but like oftentimes you'll see that a lot of other races tend to take from
Mm-hmm.
or be influenced by Black African American culture. You'll
Mm.
see that in like food, you'll see that in music, in
Yes.
film, and things of that nature. And then sometimes it may come across as um, this particular group created or invented this thing,
Mm-hmm.
but no, really, like it came from, Black African American culture communities, right?
Yes.
So one thing I can remember a couple of years ago with Kim Kardashian, and I think there was a time like her and her siblings were wearing like braids, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like someone say, "Oh yeah, they created this style with the cornrows," and Black people, especially Black women, are looking at them like, are you serious? Y'all did not invent
Yeah.
cornrows. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's like I mentioned earlier, like when colonization happened in Africa, they split apart people and put them in different areas
Yeah.
to separate them
Mm-hmm.
so that they won't realize how strong they are together.
Yes.
Um, so like they had to come up with unique ways on how to communicate, and wearing their hair, women wearing their hair a certain kind of way was a way to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
Whether what tribe you're a part of, or like if there's danger ahead, or whatever the case may be. Um, so to see something that we know is a part of our culture, and to see another culture come in and be influenced by it, and then want to kind of take it and make it their own, as if they created it or they invented it,
Yeah.
it's like a big slap in our face, because it's taken away from our creativity and our innovation, and it's again creating a wedge between our community.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll let you make some comments here. But another thing I wanted to mention as well, you were talking about um, it may seem like a lot of times that we are not unified
Yeah.
as a community, and I agree as well. And I think as Black people, if we just understood the power that we have,
Very, very powerful.
if and the thing about it is that Everyone else sees how powerful we are.
Yes.
Everyone sees how smart, how innovative we are. And we're failing to see it because we want to fit into a society that we were never meant to be in the first place.
Yes.
Right? So if we could bring back a sense of community and us looking out for each other, us supporting each other, us working together to build our own community outside of what's happening, we will be a force to be reckoned with.
Mhm.
But there are a lot of players at play. There are a lot of people who are pulling strings and making decisions. And as long as we as a community allow that to continue, we're going to continue to be divided.
Yes.
We're going to not be able to move forward in the way that we need to. And then, like, I'm just really concerned for the next generation that's coming up after us.
Yeah.
Like, what legacy are we leaving for them?
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Because